Ooh, I'm wearing so much makeup today. I had a photo shoot. I did not do this. I don't have these capabilities. Hello guys! My voice is going, so I apologize if it sounds a little bit raspier today. But today we are talking about not my voice, but a lot of other people's lovely voices. I have mentioned in a bunch of prior videos that I am absolutely obsessed with podcasts. I listen to them Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. like without fail. They truly are the key to me surviving my office job. You guys ask all the time what some of my favorites are, and so this is going to be the first of my KRISTEN'S favorite podcast videos lists things. I'm a professional. I originally was gonna rate these like this is my 5th favorite, this is my 4th, but truly I constantly am discovering new podcasts, and so there's really just no good way to rate them, so these are just some of my favorites. So the first up is Psychobabble. This podcast is basically like if you decided instead of going out to a club that you and your best friend would just stay at home, get in your pajamas, open a bottle of wine and gossip. It's hosted by Tyler Oakley and Corey Cole, and honestly, I just love it. It's so carefree and funny. It makes me actually laugh out loud. And I feel like they talk about those topics that everyone's a little nervous people will judge them for talking about, like Katy Perry versus Taylor Swift. Topics that may not seem to really matter that much, but matter in your heart of hearts. The next podcast on our list is You Made It Weird. This is the perfect combo of comedy and really personal, unapologetic, borderline existential questions asked to your favorite celebrities and comedians. You made it weird, you made it weird, you made it weird, oh yeah. That's my rendition of their perfect theme song. It's hosted by Pete Holmes, the hilarious comedian, and what's great about this podcast is also it's underneath the Nerdist umbrella, which means that they've been able to get really spectacular guests on this podcast, people that you'd really want to hear from. And Pete Holmes does an amazing job of really narrating these conversations and making them flow, and again, really not being afraid to ask more tough questions that people might have to think about. Next up on our list is Biscuits. This is all the in-depth information and backstories that you've wanted to know about your favorite YouTubers in Diane Sawyer style. It's hosted by the dynamic YouTubing duo Rhett and Link, and they again are two hosts that are totally willing to dig in there and ask the questions that other people might be a little afraid to ask. Their podcast in the YouTubing community has gotten a reputation now for getting really deep and almost being a therapy session. As a fellow YouTuber and a creative person, I also have found this to be just an extremely helpful podcast in that I get to learn about how my favorite YouTubers got where they were and how they feel about YouTube. So if that's something that you're interested in, I really do highly recommend. Which brings us to our next podcast on our list, Not Too Deep with Grace Helbig, which is everything you didn't realize you needed to know about your favorite YouTubers, but oh my god, are you for the better for now knowing. As deemed by the title, this is hosted by my favorite YouTuber, Grace Helbig. I'll say it, she's my favorite, she's my fave. I love her, I have the biggest woman crush on her. But hilariously, her podcast was actually kind of inspired by Biscuits by Rhett and Link, in that the whole premise of her style is that she doesn't like to get too deep and she asks just point-blank stupid questions. For instance, one of the questions she asks every guest in every episode is who they would most want to throw cold spaghetti at. You didn't realize you wanted to know that, but now you will know that. I can't recommend it enough, and this season, I believe it's season 2 that they're on right now, has been even better. They've gotten this down to a science, and every episode is just hilarious. And finally, the last podcast on today's favorites list is Adventures in Roommating. This podcast is coming home from work and venting / catching up with your best friend and roommate. They're gonna listen to everything you have to say, but they also know you well enough to tell you when what you're saying is bullshit and give you lots of advice. They ain't got time for your shit, but they do have enough time for the phrase God bless. This podcast is hosted by Megan Tonjes, the amazing musician and also YouTuber, and Keith Batista, who formerly had his own web show that I used to watch, which was amazing, called The Professionals, and he also now is one of the editors on Philip DeFranco's shows. He's also from Long Island, so I see you, Daddy Keith. I discovered this podcast last year, and there is so much of it. They've been doing this for I think 2 years now, and it's just amazing. I fell in love with it instantly. They do a lot of advice giving. They answer a lot of questions from their viewers, who they call the BBs. And I really have to say, as a listener, it's really refreshing to hear their sort of advice, and to hear, especially from two people that are in the time of their lives that they are, to hear such in-depth advice. I love it. The one thing I do want to say is that this podcast is definitely not for super young people. It's very sexually explicit. They talk about sex all the time, pretty much in every episode. So please, if you fall in that category, don't listen to them. Wait a couple years. But I adore that podcast. They put out a bunch of episodes every month, and they're just so hilarious in addition to actually being helpful. So definitely go and give them a listen. And that is my first list of favorite podcasts. Like I said, I listen to so many podcasts, so you can expect a lot more videos about this topic from me. I can literally list 5 more right off the top of my head right now, but I'm gonna save it for another video. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please hit that thumbs up button, and also subscribe to me because it helps me out a lot. If you want to find me on other social media, here's all that information, and I highly suggest you go on that social media and share this video with a friend. And otherwise, that's all I got. I love you, lovelies, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!